All right, we are live. So, what's up, guys? You heathens and demons. Welcome back to the Raging Atheist, my first live hangout with the frustrated atheist. Ian Fisher, unfortunately, never got back to me. I've tried to contact him several times. He said he wanted to come and do a hangout with me, and he didn't come. Maybe he'll show up in the chat. We'll see. But I'll let the frustrated atheist take over.
Hello, hello. I am the Frustrated Atheist. I have a YouTube channel that I do mainly a lot of different science debunks, and I do tend to dabble in the debunking of different uh, the different Christian nonsense that gets spread around and whatnot. And you'll also find me on other people's channels. I'm either doing a collab with them or I was on the Non Sequiturs after show last night with Trevor Valle. Um, Great guy. Great, just amazing paleontologist, and he's just a overall pretty cool guy. And so and he's in a field that I absolutely adore. But yeah, I that's pretty much it. Was hoping that Ian Fisher would come on and have a discussion with us, but I guess he doesn't seem to want to. We may have scared him off.
Yeah, I think that Matt Powell might have got to him, but you guys can find a link in the description below to Frustrated Atheist channel. And yeah, we'll just keep talking about the NFIB. Um, we were having a pretty good discussion before we went live, and we were talking about how I didn't really know anything about them when I started talking with Matt, and I'm just now starting to link that Brandon Anderson and is the leader of this. I was watching something that's going on down in Jacksonville, Florida, I believe. Pastor Shelley has ousted a church, I guess. It's pretty crazy what's going down there. So I've been looking at that. Matt Powell has been all over my channel. He can't stand the stuff I'm putting out. So you seem to be pretty knowledgeable about the NFIB. Um, do you do you know? We were kind of talked about this before we went live. Do you know how Anderson started it? Like, what's the difference between the new fundamental independent Baptist and the old fundamental independent Baptist?
Well, so so apparently, according to the research that Atheist Rationale did, was about 10 years ago. Steven Anderson actually had predicted that the a bunch of people from the IFB were going to split off and start their own thing. And sure enough, they did. And they called themselves the new IFB. Only because, of course, they are new and they're still independent fundamentalist Baptists. Um, and it's all because there's just a few doctrinal changes that the old IFB tends to be more lenient on than the new IFB. I'm not going to go into great detail because I eventually am going to get this video out where I will be outlining the different changes between the old and the new IFB.
All right, I'll make sure
So,
I watch that so I can get informed because yeah, I'm really interested in that.
yeah, and I go off on a brief history about the IFB, how it's got started during the was it the second what they call it, awakening or whatever, during the late 18th, early 19th century, the second coming or whatever they call it. Oh, like this, it's when all the revivals started picking up
Yeah,
and
yeah, like the
taking
Reformation.
off. Yeah, and so it started way back when, and then as soon as like 1920s ish, is when like people like you'll see like people like the Hiles, Jack Hiles, whenever
Hmm.
he started his church and helped bring up the Hiles Anderson College and all that other good stuff. And there's a lot of stuff that goes on in the IFB itself that is very, very, very big no nos, such as uh, the statutory rape of young women and the different abuses that go with that. I go into detail with a couple of the stories, and it's just really, really heartbreaking to read them. And it's one of those things that really does piss me off as I read it. So that's kind of part of why it's been so long since I've been trying to put this out. Another one is because I'm also incredibly lazy, so I don't. I just sit there and go, yeah, I'm gonna make a video tomorrow.
Yeah, we all have those moments. I have those moments.
Yeah,
Definitely.
so there's a lot of difference, and so I'm just kind of outlining what Anderson calls changes within the church
Yeah, and that's
and
what I
figure
mean.
out what the difference is. Yeah,
Um,
and
I grew up Southern Baptist, kind of. But yeah, I just researched all of what you were talking about when I did my history of Christmas. And I
mhm.
never really knew. I always just assumed that America was the multi denominational fuckstorm it is today, but it wasn't. Up until probably the very early 1900s, it was all Protestant. And then, yeah, the Reformation really changed that. And the fact that the Protestant church didn't practice Christmas really made
Oh,
America what we know it to be today.
yeah. Sorry, there's a train going by. I live really close to a train track.
All right. I used to live right next to a train track too. It sucked. At 3 o'clock in the morning, getting woken up.
Well, thank goodness actually this here we it doesn't really wake us up because I've gotten used to it.
Yeah,
It's just that when I'm outside right now and in my truck, and as I sit out here, the train's going by, and it's just like, hey, here you go. Look at that.
yeah. The viewers might be able to hear my computer running madly crazy. So,
Yeah.
um,
Uh,
but
but
go ahead.
go ahead. Oh, I was just gonna say that. Yeah, there's I'm gonna say that Anderson makes this out to be a lot a bit of difference. And if you're within the IFB, then it probably is. But from an outsider perspective, it's not big of changes as you would be hoping for.
Yeah, yeah. I need to find out about that because I want to see how. Let's get that off there. I want to see how different Matt Powell's ideology is to, like, say, an old IFB member, and like, I know that all Baptists see homosexuals in a bad way. I don't want to say all Baptists, but most Baptists do. At least the ones that I grew up with. But I just have to believe that most of them don't hate gay people like Matt Powell, and this new IFB seems to really hate gay people.
Yes, well, both of them are very, very anti-homosexuals, and both of them, both IFB and new IFB are the types that will use the pejoratives for homosexuals, and they will, um, they they have a lot of their core beliefs are the same. They are all King James only types of people. They um,
Hmm.
they practically live in the church. Everything that goes within their church is their life. Like I mean, hell, they either they're homeschooled by their parents, or they are brought up in the fundamentalist Baptist schools, which of course is going to teach you young Earth creationism and all that other nonsense.
Yeah, that's one thing that atheist rationale brought up that I'm really interested in, because that's one of the things that I really emphasize my fight against here on my channel is childhood indoctrination, and I've kind of went away from it for a while because those videos, especially when I'm dealing with the sexual aspect of it, you know, the pedophilia in that aspect, those are really hard videos to watch. But childhood indoctrination to me is probably one of the most serious, egregious acts that we can commit. Even as an atheist, I try really hard to keep my daughter separated from my ideology. I want her to develop her own. I think that's what healthy humans should do, is develop their own ideologies. Um, and this aspect is what I really hated about the quiverful movement, and it seems to be rampant in the fundamental Christian community as a whole. And I
Yep.
know all Christians, there's a double standard. Like, Christians will be like, well, you don't talk to your daughter about your atheism, do you? And I'm like, you guys don't have any problems talking about your Christianity. So there's a double standard. And I hate fitting into that, but I just fight against childhood indoctrination. And that's one of the things that atheist rationale brought up was, you know, these kids are going to schools from the moment they start school, and they're being taught religion in school. And I thought we were beyond that. You know, I'd hoped we were beyond that.
Yeah, and it's very very sad that this indoctrination does happen because it really they really try to make sure that no individuality comes out of them it's unless it is minor just congregate versus preacher type of
Mm,
individuality. Because if you actually look at all of the NIFB, they all pretty much say and act the same way. There's not much difference in them except for maybe a little bit of personality that seemed to have came out during this whole entire phase of being so brainwashed.
yeah.
And and as much as they don't want to see themselves as brainwashed, they are. They really are. Because you have to be in order to sit there and be given a lot of evidence for certain things just to deny it because it goes against your Bible.
Yeah, yeah. If you're automatically denying something and unwilling to look at the facts presented to you, see, that's one of the things Matt Powell said that I did.
Mm-hmm.
Um, when I had actually researched most of the things he was talking about, especially when it came to his Ica stones, um, and he tried to say, "Well, I presented to you solid evidence of the flood," and I'm like, "No, you didn't. You provided evidence of high water levels, you know, but that's not a biblical flood that happened 6,000 years ago when we know it happened 50,000 years ago. And it didn't cover the whole world like your Bible says. It covered certain areas of the world, and it was due to a polar ice shelf slipping into the sea from natural climate change, something that we humans have sped up and we're now facing straight head on right now, you know." And he didn't want to hear none of that. It was, "Oh, you believe in a flood." I'm like, "No, no, I believe in climate change." You know, it's and it's something that fundamental Christians, I'm not going to say the new IFB, but fundamental Christians themselves will, when they're combating and denying climate change, talk about natural climate change throughout the history of the world. You know, so it's like, you know, the science, but you don't put two and two together and realize that while you're saying this, that you know, for hundreds of thousands of years the earth has done this, at the same time you're saying, well, the earth's only 6,000 years old.
Yeah, and that's just blatantly false. I mean, there they try to sit there, and the only way they try to say that the Earth is 6,000 years old is due to some chronology from the Bible. That
Mm-hmm.
is it. They don't try to actually do any kind of scientific method to figure out how old the Earth is. They just sit there and go, well, the Bible has a chronology. This is what they say, so it's got to be anywhere between these two ages. So
Yeah,
that's good enough for me.
and they don't take into account how long Adam and Eve could have lived in the Garden of Eden, immortal, before they actually ate the apple. I mean, they don't take into any accounts of the fictitious story that they believe in to really even, and that's the church kind of, all churches, I would think, has to kind of depress that motivation to find out more, because once you start finding out more, then you have what we are, atheists.
Yeah. And I'd like to point out something that Native Atheist said in the chat, where he said, "My grandpa was forced into Christianity in Indian boarding school."
Yeah, I would. I can't see the chat for some reason. I don't know why. I'm seeing a group chat, um, so I can't see the chat to respond to you guys. I'll try to respond in the comment section
Oh,
and
all
figure out how to do that later.
all you have to do is actually uh minimize your Google Hangout screen
On
and then pull up YouTube.
all right, yeah,
Yeah, just make sure you mute the stream, otherwise
all
we'll
right.
hear.
I see now. What's up, guys? So
Yeah.
yeah, back to the new IFB, or I'll address that native atheist in a minute, because I do want to talk about that too, because that is a huge thing. But something that I just recently learned about the new IFB was that I don't know whose wife. I'm going to assume uh, Pastor Anderson's wife is actually a pastor herself, and preaching the word of God, and is actually has her hands in the workings of the new IFB. I don't know how true this is.
Mhm.
This is something that this pastor down in Jacksonville, that I guess is being shunned from the church, is saying. But that would strictly go against their biblical doctrine of what a woman is and how she should act. And I'm going to be exploring that out in a future video. But back to what Native Atheist was talking about. Yeah, it's tragic what we did to
Mhm.
Native Americans, and that's something that I want to really get focused, because I focused on that on my first channel, and I'm going to start focusing on that here on this channel as well. I'm going to get away from politics, but when I focus on the Native Americans, politics are going to become involved, because all politics have always been against us. So that's something I do want to start talking about, my people's heritage. And
I want to address something that Terry says in the chat. He says the only truth and knowledge is in the King James Bible and Dead Sea Scrolls. That is why they replaced the real Bible with fakes and hid those books away. For starters, the King James Bible was completely compiled for King James, who was a known homosexual.
mm-hmm.
Um, there's that for starters. And the thing is the Dead Sea Scrolls. That's not the only manuscripts for the Bible. There are several of them, and most of them are very small fragments, and including parts of the Dead Sea Scrolls. And the fact that you're bringing that up is proof of what exactly? I
Yeah, and I would like to ask if he's actually read the Dead Sea Scrolls, because I have, and it's a bunch of nonsense. It's pure nonsense. It goes from, I mean, each individual book says a completely different thing. So yeah, I would, and it's a fact that they were written so long after Jesus lived, if he lived. I don't believe that he was actually a real person, but say he
oh,
was a
so
real person.
you
Yeah,
fall in the mythicist camp?
yeah, I do. I just, if you look at the Roman empire, one thing Romans did really well was take notes. They kept records. They wrote everything down. And one thing we don't get under Roman occupied Israel at the time is any mention of a Jew raising the dead.
Yeah, and well, the thing is I fall more along the camps that, in my opinion, it doesn't matter if he was or wasn't, because all of it's irrelevant.
Hmm. Yeah,
That's
yeah,
just my own personal opinion.
yeah,
There
and
might be others who have that same opinion, but I just fall under the count under the
don't
whole entire thing that it doesn't really, it's
it,
irrelevant.
it doesn't matter because the stories written about the guy have been greatly exaggerated. And don't get me wrong, I am a mythicist that believes that every myth is rooted in some form of truth. I know of Yahashua ben Joseph. I believe that the myth of Jesus was created probably by 4 or 5 different rabbis roaming around Israel at the time, and Yahashua ben Joseph was probably the main one of those.
Yeah. I
But yeah,
just
you're
know
right.
that
It just doesn't matter. I mean, it has no basis on our modern day situation.
no, and the whole entire fact that, I mean, yes, if you're looking at if Christianity is true, since the biggest hinging factor is the resurrection of Christ, then yeah, it matters. But as a whole, no, no, to me, it's irrelevant.
Mm.
Um, so I really just can't. Every time every time people sit there and say, "Oh, well, I fall on the historical Jesus," "Oh, I fall on the mythical side," I sit there and I'm kind of like at the point to where I'm not even in the middle. I'm just like, it's irrelevant regardless.
Yeah, yeah, and yeah, it just doesn't matter. The only thing that matters about it is what history actually says, and
Yeah.
we know that the temple wasn't destroyed like the Bible says it was. We know that there wasn't some great storm over Israel like the Bible said there was. We know that you know if Jesus was crucified, it wouldn't have been anything spectacular because hundreds of people were crucified every day. I mean, we know all of this,
Mhm.
and yet
Well,
they refuse to look at the history.
one of the biggest things that I always bring up is the fact that even the whole entire coming back from the dead isn't exactly a miracle in itself either, because all the way up until the like close to the early 19th century, we had what was known as safety coffins, because we could not tell if the dead was actually dead. And
Yeah,
so, because we couldn't tell, we buried them and had the string that would run up from the coffin all the way up to the top side of the grave. So that way they'd ring the bell if they woke up buried alive. So they would ring the bell and we'd go and dig them back up and get them back out of there. But so, and people, I've had someone bring up, like, well, oh, so you're saying that he survived, Jesus would have survived the torture and spearing of the side and whatnot, and they were talking about how this guy was talking about how the blood mixed with water um, is an indication that he died, and somebody else pointed out, not necessarily, because there is a sac right underneath the heart that is filled with water, that if it pierced, it would come out with water mixed with blood and the person would not necessarily die. And so it's very, very, it's funny that people say these things like, oh, him dying and coming back to life, oh yeah, that's a miracle. It's like, no, these are actually explainable phenomenon, that because whenever it talks about Jesus' side being pierced, that's all it says. It says his side. And where that sack is technically the side. And so it doesn't say, oh, yeah, it stabbed him precisely right here. It just says the side. And so it's asinine to just automatically jump to the assumption, or jump to the explanation that has the most assumptions. If
mm,
you can narrow it down to a more accurate assumption where it is a more plausible one, that tends to be the correct one. And
yeah,
so if if you fall on the historical Jesus side, even the miracle of resurrecting from the dead is not exactly miraculous. And so I have actually a series that I plan on covering that is about miracles, where I'm going to cover that. I'm going to cover also the untouchables, if you
Oh
understand
yeah.
what that is,
Hmm.
and a bunch of other stuff. So it's really because all a great majority of these miracles can be explained by natural means,
Oh yeah.
and the fact that they can shows that these are in fact not miracles, but these are natural phenomenon that happen that can be explained.
I've broken down the Bible pretty uh, pretty intensely, looking for a certain narrative, and I found it, and you know, I believe that the Gospels tell a very science fiction story. I think that it's pretty much plain that the Bible says that Jesus is an alien, that God is an alien, that Jesus got his hands on some pretty um, high level technology. If you look at it, um, he Satan comes and whisks Jesus from the desert all the way to the top of the temple in a moment of time, just like that. And then he takes him from the top of the temple all the way to the top of this mountain really, really quickly, and where he shows them all the kingdoms of the world in a moment of time. It's plainly talking about some technology, and then it mentions a finger of God, something that he brings from this mountain. He doesn't ever do any kind of miracles until he has this finger of God. And then if you look at the actual miracles, it's full of contradictions. When he's
Hmm.
on the boat and he calms the storm, well, the same story in another gospel, there is no storm and he doesn't calm anything.
Yeah,
And most of those miracles come from John, which is the most suspect gospel there is.
yeah. I would. Um. Oh, Lisa for True says, please check out my channel and tell me what you think.
I would, I
And
would
then
definitely check it out.
and she said sorry, but for the shilling, lol. But yeah, and the whole entire thing is
Oh, you're good.
all of these things that they say, all these things in the Bible, it makes sense if you look at it from a a indoctrination style way of thinking,
Yep.
because if you think about it as a believer, regardless of what denomination you are in, the very second you hear Jesus calm the waters of the storm, the very next line that people say uh is like, if he can calm the waters in the storm, he can calm the storms in your life. And so it just helps reaffirm your faith, and it's
Yeah, and
complete and
it's
utter nonsense.
it's that indoctrination that allows them to believe the narrative of Jesus instead of what the Bible actually says. Now, like I said, I don't think that the man actually existed. I don't think he was half alien, but I'm just saying that that's what the Bible says. It's really funny. Like there'll be times when a cloud will come down and they'll step into the cloud and speak with God. I'm like, but you can't step into a cloud. What you're seeing is a metallic object come from the sky. You don't have the word UFO, so you're describing a cloud coming down that you're stepping into. Anybody with a brain in the modern age should be able to decipher that for what it is, some kind of flying object coming from heaven. And people forget that when biblical people speak of the heavens, they're speaking of sky. When they speak of heaven, heaven was right up there in the sky. We've been up
Well,
there, like
actually,
it's not there.
actually, a small correction, because they do in the Bible have three sets of heavens. That one of them is most definitely the sky, and if you then you have the actual heaven of God's residing place, and then the heavens also refer to the cosmos, if you will, because
Oh
this
yeah,
is
but
yeah.
and what I'm saying though is, when Gabriel comes down and speaks to Mary, he clearly comes from the heavens, and yeah, they
Mhm.
they did have a biblical heaven city in the sky, but they literally thought it was right up above the clouds, and you could, if you looked hard enough, you could probably see it. To where now we know it's just not there. It's now
Yeah.
it's this other realm. Heaven is this other dimension you go to when you die, but that's not what
Yeah.
they believed when it
No,
all began.
they believe that heaven was an actual place
Yes.
you could go to
Hmm.
if you could get just by means of coming
Yeah,
from earth
that's the
to
whole what
upwards.
Tower of Babel, I think, where they tried to
No, 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 no.
what.
Actually, that one was different. What you're told is that they were building this tower to reach heaven, and God struck it down because of that. But in all actuality, if you actually read the Tower of Babel, what it was all the tribes were unified, and they wanted to build a structure to show their unification. And God sat there and looked down and saw them building the Tower of Babel, and He said, with the fact that they are unified in this, they can do anything. So he struck down
Hmm.
the tower and he scattered them. He gave them all different languages to scatter them amongst the nations, so that way they could not
Yeah,
come
yeah,
back together again. So the story itself is not about man's being conceited and wanting to be like God or get
reach
to
them.
God.
Yeah,
It was the fact that they were unified, and God did not want them unified because He knows
yeah.
that because of that they would be unstoppable.
Yeah, I did just watch a documentary where they laid that out pretty good. I wish I could remember it, to give them some props. But yeah, what you're saying is exactly right. It was God was. It might have even been dark matter. Now that I think about it, maybe.
Hmm.
But yeah,
I know that even Aaron Raw had a video about it.
yeah, I might have seen
But
it on his channel too. Yeah,
and I actually and it was because of him saying it that I actually was like, no. And I went to the Bible and I opened it up and I went to the Tower of Babel and read it for myself. And I was like, are you fucking kidding me? I was like, I've been told a lie my entire life about this story.
yep, and that's what I'm all about. Is raging against the lie. People are like, why do you get so mad? And I'm like, it's I'm not even really mad about it anymore, but
Mm-hmm.
I kind of channel that new atheist I was when I started figuring out that I'd been lied to my entire life, and I was lied to by people who believed the lie, so it wasn't like they were lying to me, but it's just
Right.
it was a lie.
Yeah. And the thing is these are stories that are told from preachers who learned these in seminary, who also it's just it's a never-ending cycle of a lie that the person who told you the lie didn't know because the person who told them the lie didn't know because the person who told them the lie just didn't told the lie because it goes along with the narrative.
Yeah, I often, and it's a metaphorical term, but I often say it's ingrained in the DNA of humans now, and it's really hard to escape that. 'Cause, I mean, and
Mm-hmm.
even just growing, that's why you see people that aren't even raised in Christian homes become Christians as they become 18, 19 years old. It's just because the surrounding society, it's so ingrained in DNA culture now that you
Mm-hmm.
just can't escape it, and there's a good chance you'll fall victim to it.
Well, and the thing is it definitely is a regional thing because you can be saying the same thing about Islam if you were in an Arabic country. You'd be speaking out against Muhammad in the
Mhm.
Quran if you were over there. If the same story, if your same life was just in an Arabic country, you'd be saying the same thing about Islam, and so this is how this is a regional thing. If you're and this goes back to even Christopher Hitchens, where he said, if you were born in India, you would be a believer in you'd be a believer in Krishna and all of the other deities that are ascribed to them. If you were born in Saudi Arabia, you would be talking about the Prophet Muhammad. and the Quran, and you just so happen to live in the United States,
Hmm.
where the biggest religion is Christianity,
Yeah.
and and I had to share in your frustration about this stuff because it's one of the many reasons why I named my channel The Frustrated Atheist. And
Me
and
too.
so
I get all the
yeah.
time. Oh, you named yourself after the Amazing Atheist. I'm like, no, the hell I didn't. The Amazing
No,
Atheist is trying to be grand and spectacular. I'm trying to be more like Cult of Dusty than the Amazing Atheist.
I'm just trying to be me.
Yeah, well,
Um
me too. I'm me, but to say that I'm emulating the Amazing Atheist or trying to name myself after him, no, I mean, it's just not true. The Raging Atheist is completely different than the Amazing Atheist, and I
oh
try
yeah.
to do something completely different than he does.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of TJ stuff. Well, not a lot, but I've seen quite a few of TJ's stuff, and I've seen your stuff, and again, not a lot because I tend to spend my time doing other things
Oh, me too.
than
It's hard to
YouTube.
get me to watch YouTube.
Yeah, so well, I mean, I'll watch certain ones. Like I had to watch the I was in a live stream with Ocean Keltoy, who is a polytheist, but he is he and a bunch of other polytheists actually tend to be more friendly towards atheists, even though they do go after atheistic bad ideas as well.
Hmm.
But they tend to fall more in line with atheistic views on certain aspects, especially whenever it comes to the Christians that are on both YouTube and Twitter. And so, it became natural that he started striking up friendships with some of the atheists. He does like some of the Christians as well, but he tends to make friends better with the atheist,
Yeah,
and he's all around a great guy. I mean,
I
Ocean is one of my favorite people on Twitter
yeah, when
because
he
he's
came into the conversation once Matt had come into it on
yeah,
Suri's channel, yeah, he's a really smart guy. He kind of
yeah.
intimidated me for a moment because he's definitely smarter than me. um,
Well,
I'm
that's the
fascinated with his
thing.
belief in Thor because I'm fascinated with the Norse mythology. So I
Yes.
definitely want to talk with him and have a conversation about his beliefs and not to berate him for it, but just to explore because I always said if I was going to believe in any god, it would have been Odin and Thor and the more
Yeah.
mortal gods I
Well,
would call them.
well, and the thing is I've said this to to Ocean and a lot of the other polytheists that if there were any gods that would be real, it would be more along the lines of the polytheistic gods because these were mortals that these weren't not mortals, but these were deities that were imperfect and
Mhm.
they never claimed to be omniscient, omnipresent. Although some could be,
Yeah,
like there are some creator gods that are eternal
well, yeah,
in
one of my
certain.
favorite stories, and I'm probably nowhere near the expert as Ocean is, but one of my favorite stories is the stories of the the apples, to where Loki
Oh yes.
steals the apples, and
Mm-hmm.
all the gods grow old, and you got old
Yeah.
Thor trying to save the day, and he eventually does. It's one of my favorite stories, and that's what I mean by they could become mortal in certain circumstances. Yeah.
Yeah, and Slavic B says some maybe, but I can't claim that for sure. And no, we can't. As atheists, we definitely would not claim it for sure. But if there were deities,
Mm.
or if there was such thing as a deity that did exist, the unpredictable and the many different personalities of the different gods would be more accurate
Yeah.
than Yahweh,
Yeah.
because
Yeah. I definitely don't
Yahweh.
believe in them, but
Yeah, no, no. As a matter of fact, he Ocean was the reason why I became Atheo-pagan, which is an atheistic version of paganism, where you don't look at the gods as actual beings that
Mm-hmm.
existed, but you look at them for the archetypes. So, for instance, if I'm having an emotional trying day and I need strength, I would seek to be more like Thor. If I was, if I just couldn't grasp something, I would seek to be wise like Odin. So, and that's what Atheopagans do. Is they, well, some of them do. There's others that do believe in the actual deities, but my version of Atheopaganism, which is the same as Frankie from the Geek Room, where we just use the gods as archetypes, where we don't believe they exist, but we use them. Like, for instance, Frankie has a medallion that has Mjolnir on there, which is Thor's hammer,
Yep.
because it reminds him to have strength for his son. And so that is the basicness of it. And there are some different people who actually you can draw inspiration from that. Like, for instance, there was one character that Ocean told me about. There's one Viking who went by the name of I forgot the first name, but he was called the Godless, and that's spelled Gaudles. And he believed that the gods existed, but he said his whole entire philosophy on it was, I never once sacrificed to Odin, and yet have lived a long life. And what he was pretty much saying was that he believed that the gods existed, but he had lived such a long life in spite of them. And so this is where you will get where you do get these ideas of this is where you can draw inspiration from
Mm-hmm.
for being atheopagan. And it's very interesting, because I would there are definitely times whenever I'm struggling where I do seek to have the strength of Thor and things like that. So using the gods as archetypes is not something that has to stay strictly with different beliefs. It could
Mm-hmm.
actually go towards even things like the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and with using the archetypes, it would still follow and using the archetypes of the different Marvel characters from the
Mm-hmm.
comics, you will still be falling under atheopaganism, because you're just using them as an archetype to help you. Like, for instance, if you were having problems solving things, you would probably want to be more like Tony Stark,
Yeah.
and so you would seek to have the wisdom of Tony Stark. So it's very interesting, and it's a very cool aspect to explore,
Yeah.
which I plan on doing.
I do kind of the same thing. I I still take aspects of the spiritual religions I followed after I left Christianity. You know, like I'll draw, you know, I'll meditate and look at Zen Buddhist sayings and think about the Buddha, and I'll be, you know, a better person attuned with, you know, humanity around me, and it's part of my humanism. And you know, I'll
Mm.
still wear sometimes my medicine bag from my
Oh,
Native American culture, and I don't believe that the stones or the sage in there does the
yeah.
things that Native
Oh,
Americans
yeah.
think, but I still,
I
you
I
know,
have a medicine bag as well.
oh yeah, yeah, and I'll wear it occasionally, and it will just reaffirm my culture for me, and I'll think about that religion I followed and the person I was at the time. So I kind of do a similar thing. I would definitely classify myself more of an anti-theist. Um,
Oh yeah, me too.
Definitely, I don't pretend to know if there's any gods. Like I would tend to think that if there was ever a god, the farther back in humankind you go to find the right one is probably going to be the answer. because if there was a root source for humanity, then of course the earlier humans would have had a better idea, in my opinion. So,
Yeah.
it's kind of ludicrous if you're going to follow a god. To me, why aren't you following the original god? Why are you following this new one that people contrive to get power for themselves?
Oh yeah. And it's definitely I definitely fall under anti-theist as far as um anti-theists mainly are people who are just against the harms of religion.
Mm-hmm.
And I am definitely by every sense of the word an anti-theist when it comes to that, because I've always said there's three things that I care about when it comes to religious people. One, that they don't harm anyone in any way, shape, or form. Two, that they understand, or at the very least accept, the science um, from people who know more about the science than they do. And the third one is always that God, I uh, had it in my head, but it's been such a long day. I've been up since 6 o'clock yesterday morning.
Holy
Um, yeah, so thinking is not exactly help. My wife was telling me something, and I asked her a question, and it was completely and utterly hadn't. If you actually looked at the conversation, you'd be like, "What the fuck are you talking about?"
crap.
Uh,
I get
and
it.
yeah, so give me a second. It's the fact that oh God, I would have to look it up. I've had it on Twitter. Um, actually, I'll look it up right now while we're talking. Because it's something that's very very important. I wish that I could think. I don't know why I can't think. It's, I can't. Oh God, where is it? Where is it? Where I will be looking up. Sorry, I'm trying to search it now, and I'm not coming up with it for some reason. So oh, here we go. Um, oh yes, that's what it was. So the third one is they that people who are believing in religion understand that what may warrant one person's belief doesn't necessarily warrant another's, because this you get a lot because people tend to you get people like Matt Powell who want to try to convert you, um, because that's what his Bible says. You have people like the missionary who was killed off the coast of
Mm-hmm.
India because he wanted to convert this indigenous tribe
Yeah.
to Christianity.
It's the
And
very type of person that went to the native tribes and stole the babies and took them east. Yeah, I hear you.
no. This particular guy,
Well,
his
yeah,
whole yeah.
he was a
Oh, so,
missionary, and it was mainly missionaries in the name of Jesus going to the Native American reservations.
yeah, but this particular guy, what I was talking about was off the coast of actual India. There's a indigenous tribe that has stayed the same since the Neolithic era.
Yeah.
They have not changed one bit. And this man heard about this tribe, and he decides he wants to go over there to convert them
hmm
to Christianity, and so or preach the word of Jesus. And he goes over there, and when he gets over there, the first thing they do is they shoot him with an arrow in the knee. So he goes back to the boat. He then goes back a second time, and they destroyed his boat. And so he had to swim back to the main boat. And he goes back a third time, and they finally, I mean, you had two warnings. And so they sit there and they killed him. And the Christians are now trying to be in an uproar.
Hmm.
We need to prosecute this Neolithic tribe who who doesn't who's still working with bows and arrows, who doesn't have any concept of legal action, and you're going to try them for murder.
Yeah, and
And
they should have been trying. I don't. Whoever sent the guy, because Native Atheist is exactly right. He put that tribe in danger not only with diseases but with culture. Um, we see it. We've seen it with I don't know, that tribe that made the Prince of England a god back in the day. So yeah, I mean, I'm very familiar with the story. I watched several Young Turks videos on it, and yeah, he went in there and they gave him plenty of warning before they killed him, and now they're trying to say
yeah,
that this tribe needs to be put to some legal repercussions, and that's just ridiculous. You made that choice, dude. You know, you died in your God's name. You should, he got what he wanted.
yeah. But the thing is, the biggest thing is what Native Atheist said was the disease, because
Hmm.
these are people who, like I said, haven't changed since the Neolithic era. And to put this in perspective, this tribe hasn't changed since the invention of fire.
Hmm.
So, so you have this tribe that is not privy to the diseases that we have today, and they don't have any of it. And the fact that we come there with the diseases that we have, and the thing is if you don't think that you have certain germs and stuff that could kill these people, you do. And so they he goes there and puts them at risk of infection that could wipe out this entire culture of people who is the it's if you actually look at this tribe, they are our biggest clue into how life was in the past.
Hmm.
And the fact that um I love the whole entire evolution of the hominid species, and the fact that I look at all of these different time frames, and and all I keep thinking is it'd be amazing to actually have seen something like that, and the fact that we can through surveillance actually monitor these people through helicopters that fly over it every so often, and boats that patrol the waters around it, because they have protection
Hmm.
from the country of India.
Yep.
So to watch these, to be able to survey these beings that haven't changed since part of the time frames that one of the time frames that I absolutely love in the hominid history is amazing. And the fact that this one man, if they had accepted him with arms wide open, let him come live with or come stay with them for a bit, could have wiped them all out completely. It's just to me it's just completely and utterly horrifying.
Hmm. Yeah, and it's something that they've always done. You know, they use God as a reason to destroy culture. We and most, not even just religious people, but I think most modern people would look at that tribe and say, well, they need to be brought into modern civilization. It's not healthy for them to be that way, and they don't realize exactly what you're saying is that if we were to do that, they're all dead. They would be completely wiped out. I mean, we saw it with the Native Americans. I've done a lot of research on them and getting to know my culture, and we wiped out 97% of Native Americans on continental United States back in the day. And most of that was done with diseases, and it was done intentionally. Everybody's heard about the blankets filled with smallpox. They used disease as a weapon, and pretty much annihilated an entire race of human beings. And there's only a remnant left because of disease.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
I never understood. People people know that what we did to the Native Americans was atrocious, and I think even those that really try not to think about it understand, but I don't think they truly understand just how just vitally evil we were to these people. And it's something that I'm going to be talking about a lot on my channel coming up.
Yeah. It's definitely something that people tend to somehow forget. Holy crap, dude! You don't have to honk that many times. It's definitely something that people tend to forget, and it's something that needs to be reminded of because, hell, I live in Texas, so I live in a state that not too long ago was all gung ho about adding Moses to the history books and
Mm-hmm.
to say that it was he who inspired the Constitution.
Oh yeah,
So
I brought that up with Matt Powell.
yeah, so I mean this is a state that is definitely all for doing anything and everything to whitewash um our history
Mm-hmm.
and to make it seem as if everything anything and everything about our history has to deal with uh with religion of some way, shape, or form. And it just is mind-boggling to me because we like how can we I'm just as from my point of view, how can we stand for things like that? Which is why I'm glad that Arn Raw was able to go to Austin, to the Capitol, and help vote no on that. So that way
Mm-hmm.
we didn't have that in the school books.
Yeah,
Because that would be a complete and utter travesty.
and if Matt Powell and the NFIB or any of these the Quiverful movement, if any of these extreme Christian movements have their way, that's going to be nationwide. That's what they want nationwide, is to be able to teach this crap in our schools and indoctrinate the children again, like they were able to back in the early 1900s, 1800s.
Mm-hmm.
When they talk about make America great, that's one of the main things they're talking about, is let us indoctrinate your atheist children so we don't have all these atheists running around screwing up our country.
And one of the saddest things is, I'm not going to say that they're racist because they do allow black people in their churches, but they are they are still not for mixing of the races.
No,
So
no.
if you have a black boy in a church, he better be with a black girl, or because they will not allow a black person and a white person to be in a relationship together.
Mm,
These are the types of people that they actually go whenever they're picking out their boyfriends and girlfriends. Will actually go to their priests or their pastors and ask them what they think.
mm.
Um,
Oh yeah, yeah.
that's
I grew up in it. I grew up in North Carolina, and
yeah. So
I understand. Like this latent racism. I'm not a racist, but no,
yeah,
it's racist. It's great. We get them up here in Michigan. They walk around with their rebel flags, and you try to explain to them, dude, you're a Yankee. You have no idea what that rebel flag means. Well, it's Southern heritage and it's a lifestyle, dude. I'm from the South. I know what it means, and what you're doing right now is racist, and they hate it, but it's
yeah,
true. It's
yeah.
true.
I was always also grew up, and the funny thing is my dad is Mexican, and he actually has on his one of his arms a tattoo of the rebel flag, but the way he views it is the fact that he sees himself as a rebel type of thing, and so that's why he has it on there. But it's still it. You know I'm all for keeping it. As far as if people want to have the rebel flag, go ahead, have it. If you want to have it in your house, if you want to have it on your yard, whatever. I don't think that it should ever be flown anywhere near a government building. And I definitely don't think that people should just be walking around the streets with it draped over their shoulders.
Oh yeah, yeah, and yeah, I'm the same way. Like I think you should be able to feel the way you want to feel. If you want to be racist, be racist. But if you're going to display that racism, don't get mad when somebody calls you out on it.
Oh
You
no.
you do have that freedom of expression, but I do have my freedom of expression to be like, racism isn't tolerated here. Get the hell away from me.
Yeah.
And I think more people should be like that, honestly, because especially in the South, where it's just you don't even have to say it. You just all the white people get together and silently nod.
Yeah, and it's one of those things that because I always I'm I'm the definition of a proud Texan. I have the state of Texas tattooed on my arm. I and it's because I grew up here and I absolutely love the state.
Well, and there's good
Um,
news for you too, because Texas, the demographics are changing down there, and it's starting to appear that it's becoming more progressive in nature. I mean, you still do have, I mean, Ted Cruz did win, but as much as I'm not a Beto fan, he did fairly well.
he did, but he's unfortunately still lost.
Yeah.
I was definitely all for Beto. Beto was I wouldn't necessarily call him an atheist because I don't know his religious views and he never actually spoke about them. But his views on the politics side were definitely secularist and they
Mhm.
definitely were more humanist than any other candidate that I saw. And the state of Texas, for a great part of it, was tired. Is tired of Ted Cruz. We are tired of him, and a lot of us want him out. But unfortunately, he's not.
Mhm.
And and unfortunately, I've said this that even though I love Texas, I absolutely love it. If there were ever during the Civil War, when Texas seceded from the Union and whatnot, and the North won, we signed a document that stated that we would never succeed again. However, the problem is if you push Texas far enough, if you push the people in a direction that they do not want to go down, you will have a serious uproar, and you would probably have a state that will not care about the legality of succeeding and will still try to. And if they are successful at it, as much as I love Texas, I will move because I know that one of the very first things that will probably be instated is a theocracy.
Mhm.
Um, and I know that it's going to be a state that, or at that point in time, a country that will not accept me as an atheist
Yeah.
and will not look out for my rights. So, as much as I love Texas, and as much as I would not want to live in any other state, I would move because I will not be suppressed. I mean, hell, my wife is a non-denominational Christian, and if a theocracy is in place, they would do anything and everything to separate us and have our wedding annulled, or
Mhm.
force us into a divorce type of thing because a believer cannot be with a non-believer. And so it's definitely something that I always have in the back of my mind because I mean the chances of that happening are slim to none. But I always prepare for the worst.
Well, and even the
And
fact that it's a possibility in the modern age, um, and and you know, like I always get a kick out of when atheists are like, "Why do you hate God so much? Why do you attack? Why do you do this? What's the purpose of this?" I'm like, "Do you?" It's so we are in the face of human history. We are. I mean, we're not even removed from the Spanish Inquisition yet. You know, we're not even removed from
yeah,
the witch trials of Europe when it comes to
hell,
the face of human history. It's so easy to go back to that. Even right now,
hell,
we like we've come so far, but we could go back. You know?
the last Crusades, if I'm not mistaken, were somewhere in the late 1700s into the early 1800s. We're not even removed from the fucking Crusades.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, this this modern era is a baby in the face of human history, and we have so much farther to go. And
Yeah.
the whole purpose of the Quiverful movement is to breed an army of God and then influence political institutions, influence the three branches of government, influence pop culture. They raise their children for this from 3 years old. You know, the Duggars, they were deep into Republican lobbying. You know, they were influencing policy, having this ideology, and the whole purpose of these fundamental Christians, all of them, the NFIB, all of them, is to instill Christian law. While they're speaking bad about how those Muslims have Sharia law, they want to do the same exact thing right here in our country.
Mm-hmm. And the thing is, um, so whenever people sit there and say things like, "Why do you hate God?" Um, my very first reaction is, "I don't. I don't believe He exists." I actually go as far to say that I know that no gods exist. I am very much a hard atheist.
Me too. I will go that far. Like I accept the possibility, but I know that they're not there. Oh.
Yeah, so I go as far as saying I don't believe they exist, so I don't have any hatred towards them. I go after religion because of the bad ideas, the harm that religion
Hmm.
has done and continues to do to this day. Um, I mean, we talk about some of the harms from back in like the Spanish Inquisition and stuff like that, but you still have the Catholic Church that moves around pedophiles
Hmm.
to different churches, to different dioceses, and you have that within even the IFB movement, where members who are sexually assaulted um, get discredited because you out them as sinners and view them as untrustworthy people, and you just move the person who did the actual sexual assault to a different church, or sometimes even keep them in the same church. Hell,
Hmm.
there's one story of a girl who was sexually assaulted by her father. He goes to jail, and her pastor made her go to the jail and apologize to him. Then, on top of that, her friend's dad sexually assaulted her twice. Once, while he was taking her home, he pulled the car over, got in the back seat, and sexually assaulted her. The second time, she was home alone, and he came over and sexually assaulted her there. She got pregnant, and what happened was the the pastor brought it got to she told her mother. They brought it up to their pastor. Their pastor brought her up in front of the congregation, and the way he told it was as if she had premarital sex with like a boyfriend and was now pregnant, or just premarital sex, and then as kind of like a separate issue, brought the man who actually did the sexual assault, and she's underage at this time, the actual man who sexually assaulted her up, and as almost as if it was a completely separate issue, said that he was unfaithful with his wife. And the congregation, I don't think, made the connection. And then they moved her to Colorado, where she gave birth, and stayed with the family she knew nothing of. She didn't know this family whatsoever. And she gave birth. The baby got put with a different family. She went back to New Hampshire. And when she got back, and she went back to the to the actual church, because that's all she knew. When she went to the church, she was there with the same man who sexually assaulted her. And so these are the harms that religion are still doing to this day. Not to mention the fact that they are also trying to push a abstinence only sex education, whenever we know that it doesn't work, since these areas that practice abstinence only have the highest rates of uh, teen pregnancy,
Mhm.
STDs, and all sorts of other different things that go with sexual activity.
Yep.
And the places that actually practice safe sex have lower rates of these.
Yep. All the science shows that yeah, the red states have the highest levels of teen pregnancy, but not only that, some of the highest levels of STDs. Um, and if you go to where sex education is taught, condoms are passed out, contraception is made available, Planned Parenthood is made available. Then
Yep.
not only is teen pregnancy down, but abortion is down across the board.
Well,
STDs are down across the board.
and one of the things about Planned Parenthood is they don't just do abortions. Planned Parenthood does, they hand out free condoms. Not only do they
Mhm.
hand out free condoms, but they you can go in there and get a breast exam to make sure that you don't have cancer. You can do all sorts of other different things that is good for society to
Mhm.
make sure um that you are healthy. But the anti-choice movement, or and they're commonly known as pro-life, but they're not pro-life.
No.
They are anti-choice.
Hmm.
So so the anti-choice movement doesn't want to focus on any of that. All they know is that abortions happen at these places, and they think that they should be shut down because of that. And the thing is abortions actually are a good thing,
Hmm.
because you get people, children who aren't ready to have children of their own. They can have something taken care of. You
Well,
can you not only that,
yep.
but you have the fact that that a family that or even an adult woman who won't doesn't have the financial means, or is even a product of rape, have terminate before anything happens. And these are all good things that are within the Planned Parenthood
Yep.
movement. And so it's definitely something that the anti-choice doesn't want to focus on, because they have to be about their biblical thing. I asked someone one question, and it's one question that they always fail at. And the question is, um, so if abortion is illegal, are you going to help these people uh, take care of these children? Are you going to help support these children? And the one guy who I asked that to, he goes, "Why would I take care of someone else's kid?" And right then and there, I say, "This is why you can know that you are not pro-life. You are just anti-choice, because you don't care about the life once it's out of the womb. All you care about is the quote unquote life that's in the womb."
Well, and not only that, but it's hypocritical of them because their whole argument against the Jewish circumcision was that babies didn't feel pain until I think it was like 3 months or something like that, which I'm not sure if that's even science. But that was their justification, was that babies didn't feel pain and weren't truly human yet, so you could cut into their shit, and it's And it's kind of odd that now in modern times Christianity has actually embraced circumcision, because they were so against it at the very beginning. It's kind of it's really funny, but yeah, I mean it's just laughable to look at or to think that we can't fight against atrocities that are occurring. It was the
Yeah.
Christian. You know, it, I'm going to give credit to Christians because some Christians did use their Bible to help free the slaves and to start that movement. But there were also many Christians that were using that same Bible to implement slavery and keep it going here in America. And it's to think that I mean, just even right now in this country, the least trusted demographic, if you look at any of the polls, is an atheist. We're the least
Hmm.
why? We are still so close from being pushed back into the dark ages. If Matt Powell had his way, us atheists would be forced to shut up legally. And there's a lot of Matt Powells out there in America. So we're not that far away from that. We have to keep fighting this fight. We have to. That's my rant on Matt Powell. All of them. It's just laughable to I get these comments. What are you getting? One of the things I'm responding to Brett Keane is, what do you get from this? And I'm like, dude, if we weren't doing this, who knows where we'd be? I mean, it wasn't that long ago. I can remember the South and an atheist. Right now, if I were to go back in my community, I'd literally have people that would burn me in a public square if they could get their way.
Yeah. The thing is, when people, if someone were to ask me, what do you get out of this? I always tell them one answer, and that's I aim to help people.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the biggest compliments I got was there was a guy in the Twitter part of the community that went by the name of Tony Hackenslash, who he was by every means uh, he was a predator. I mean, he what he did was, so he had this one woman that he was with that he eventually behind her back was talking to this woman over in England, and he while this woman that he was with was helping support him financially and everything, he got the money to move to England to be with this other woman. So he was pretty much using this woman. The entire time he starts talking, he did this thing every Wednesday called Women Wednesday, where he shouted out a lot of the quote unquote strong women that he knew of in the community that he was proud to know of. And a great majority of the people that he went after, that he talked to, were women who were sexually abused in the past. Um, he would constantly tell them not to go seek professional help, but to come to him instead. And then on top of that, would say a lot of inappropriate things to these women. There's one woman in particular that I know that he had sat there and said something about her breast, and she asked him not to do that, and he said, "Okay, I'm sorry, I stepped over the line. That I apologize." But in the very next hangout that they were in together, brings her up her breast again, and so he gave this half-assed apology where he didn't really even apologize for anything because it was insincere. And he was by every mean a sexual predator, and I called him out on that. And the thing is I sent out this. I was in a tweet thread where I sent out 3 tweets where I said that even if there is no evidence against, even if women didn't come out against him, we could still know that he's a predator by his actions. And I explained out all the different things that he had done. I was like, this is not the actions of a man who is not a predator. These have all of these signs of being a predator. And later on in a different thread, this woman, like this is weeks and weeks ago, weeks and weeks after, this woman sat there and said that she was like, it was actually you who had helped me whenever I was struggling with things that Tony was doing. I was like, how so? She said, and she pulled up, or she said that she had used something I had said to show somebody else what Tony was doing. And she's like, you perfectly encompassed in 3 tweets what I had been denying for months. And so, in my eyes, this is one of the best compliments I could ever get because I'm
Mhm.
all about helping people when it comes. Like for instance, one of my series is called Science for the Newly Deconverted that I need to get back to as well, where I take all the different scientific fields when it comes to the Big Bang, planetary formation, abiogenesis, um, what is it? Evolution, fossils, and all sorts of other different aspects of science of how we know our reality works, and break it down into a simple form, in a
Mhm.
brief form, so that way people can understand it. And then on top of that, give sources to articles that people can see, and links to videos of other people who are more well versed in the information than I am. Um, so that way, people always have the information.
Mhm.
And especially for those who are either newly deconverting into atheism or those who are coming out of, even if they are still Christian, but coming out of a fundamentalist Christian background,
Yep.
and they don't know these things. So that way they have the tools to be able to understand it, learn it, and be able to pass it on if they ever so choose to. And so, and it's because I believe in helping others as much as I can. Now, don't get me wrong, I do hate people in general because to me, that's just who I am. I hate people, but because I know that I would rather have, I wish I had these sources whenever I
Mhm.
was getting out. I want to do the same for others. I want to be able to show others that this is what we actually know about our reality.
Yeah, I totally agree. That's why I do it here. I try to focus on, the rage at being at thinking that your ideology is lied to, but I also know that among atheists, we have a very high suicide rate, and that if I could rage a little bit, and if that could help somebody get out of their depression or think that they're not alone, then that's ultimately why I started doing it. But real quick, I want to acknowledge somebody that we have in the chat. That Christian vlogger is here. We've been emailing and talking about collaborating. I have a lot of respect for that Christian vlogger. And he is a very, very, very popular Christian YouTuber that I am hoping to be working with. And I just wanted to say hello to that Christian vlogger. Welcome to the channel. You found me. You're one of the 7 people watching me right now.
Mm.
But yeah.
Um, does he want to join?
Um, yeah, I'm not sure why it's going out. It could be my computer. Uh, um, I'm watching the feed, but or it could be that I'm switching. I didn't split the screen, so that might be it. So that the frustrated atheist avatar comes on. So that, but if it's in and out, um, oh yeah, awesome. So how would I do that?
Um, uh, that Christian vlogger, do you have a Twitter or an email that you can give Raging Atheist so that way he can send you the link? Oh, he said email me the link. So
Oh
just
yeah.
take the just take the same link that you gave
Okay.
me and give it to him.
Yeah, but it could be my computer is running really high. This is my first try attempt at this. So if it is going in and out, I really need to get a better computer.
What internet provider do you have?
I'm not really sure. It's through the apartment buildings. It's usually fairly decent. My computer is ancient. It's really old. So, all right, let me get to that Christian blogger in here.
Yeah, he also says that he's at JK Ho for IG or Twitter.
All right, I'm into the email now, so we'll send him an email. All right, I sent the email to you, man. It's gonna be awesome. Yeah, we've been. This is a interesting story. I've talked about it on my channel before. I made a really harsh criticism of that Christian blogger when I first started my channel. But unlike everybody else, he reached out to me, and we've been kind of talking ever since. He'll comment on some of my videos. I'll comment on some of his. And he is a Christian that I have a lot of respect for. He does a lot of really hard conversations. So we'll wait for him to join us. And yeah, so I would consider him a friend. Like I said with Matt Powell, you have to have respect to be friendly towards people, and there is definitely respect with that Christian blogger. I mean, he reached out to me.
This is one of the big misconceptions that I'm glad a lot of us are trying to correct, that we just hate every single Christian when that's not the case.
Mm-hmm.
There are certain individuals that I absolutely despise, Matt Powell being one of them. But like, for instance, I have a tremendous amount of respect for Cy Gardner, who is a Christian who just so happens to also be a evolutionary biologist. So, I mean, I really do hate this whole entire misconception that atheists just hate Christians. That is one thing that just absolutely irritates the hell out of me.
Me too. What's up? Hello? What's up, man?
Is this working?
Oh yeah,
it is.
Oh, how cool, guys! What's going on, y'all?
Hey, what's up, man?
Not much.
Nice talking to you.
Good to see you guys, or at least to see one of you guys. I see the avatar of the other dude. I haven't heard of the frustrated atheist before.
Yes, well, you wouldn't. I'm relatively small. I mean, I have like 400 and some odd subscribers. I've been slacking a lot on my videos, but pretty soon, hopefully, I will be getting back to making more and more content. But yeah, I just recently got in touch with the Raging Atheist, Nakazuchi here, because we did some live streaming together.
Nice. Hey, do you mind if I share this live stream on like my social or anything like that?
Go ahead.
Go for it.
Not, don't mind? Cool.
Yeah, not a problem.
Give me 1 second, then I can actually focus.
Okay.
Man, it's good to talk to you.
One question I do have for you. What denomination are you?
I am a Seventh-day Adventist.
Oh, a Seventh-day Adventist? Okay. I know very little about them.
That's fine.
Yeah.
I know a little bit. Here in Grand Rapids, Michigan is pretty much owned by the Seventh-day Adventists.
Yeah. There's tons of Adventists out towards your way, dude.
I'm from Texas. There's a lot of Baptists out this way.
Okay, cool. Awesome.
Yeah.
So what's up, man?
No, nothing, man. I was just doing some work, trying to figure out some stuff, and I saw that you were live. I was like, oh, might as well turn this thing on in the background and just listen to what's going on. Like, I love hearing people from different perspectives, as you, Nakasuchi, know. Like I'm very open to conversations with people who look at the world differently, and I'm not about trying to like win arguments or whatever. That like I just want to know. I just want to learn and try and build bridges rather than burn walls, man.
I definitely have someone that you should definitely get in contact with. She her name is on YouTube is Wonder Lady,
Okay.
and she but she goes by Faye, and she's the same way. She grew up atheist, and so a lot of the different aspects of different parts of religion she has a lot of questions about, and so she isn't asking them to try to quote unquote trap anyone. She just honestly likes to understand and know these things. And so there's different things that she just doesn't grasp. Like whenever speaking as someone who left the faith, the whole entire image of a fear of hell
Yeah.
is just lost on her. It's
Yeah.
lost on her because she was never like I'm not gonna say since I don't know Seventh Day Adventist. I'm not gonna. I don't know if you have the same outlook, but growing up Baptist, we definitely had a fear of hell
Yeah.
seared into us.
No, and I get that. Like, honestly, that makes a lot of sense. Something, and I'm glad that you brought up this point because this is something that's unique about my denomination. We actually don't accept the traditional view on hell, primarily for the same reasons that it sounds like your friend is referring to. What a lot of in my opinion, very reasonable atheists would reject God or at least reject the doctrine of hell because it just seems like incoherent. Like, I'm actually on your side. Like, I'm 100% in agreement with y'all.
Yeah, that's one of the things that I like about that Christian blogger, because I've actually watched a lot of your content.
Oh, cool. Thanks, man.
You are not afraid to challenge, and you do go by the Bible, and you know your Bible, and from what I see, you live a really good example of what a modern Christian should live, in my opinion. But you ask the hard questions. You know, one of my main criticisms with YouTubers, especially Christian YouTubers, is they shy away from those hard questions. And you do not shy away from anything. So I try to give you as much credit as I can because I spend so much time, raging and being negative that it's really a nice change that I can find somebody that I can be positive about. And I wasn't at first, and you reached out to me shows your character.
Well, I appreciate that. Those are kind words, and coming from you, I really value those. Like the way I look at it, man, is like, listen, we're all in it. Like, we're all on the same boat. We're all trying to figure this out. We're all trying to find out what's the best way to live life. We're all asking the same questions, whether those are questions on origin or destiny or purpose or just how to be happy. Like, that's like an actual real thing that we're all trying to figure out. And if we spend so much energy just like being pissed off at each other all the time and just like creating camps where I'm better than you, or you're terrible because of XYZ, it's like, dude, that's such an ignorant way to look at life because there's so much that I can learn from every single individual person. Like, I'll give you an example, dude. This last week I got my hair cut at this new barbershop. And this dude was telling me about his experience. This guy went all the way down to Iquitos, Peru, somewhere along the Amazon River, hanging out with a tribe where he takes this drink. I don't know how to pronounce the name of the drink, but it's a hallucination kind of drink. And he starts having like these hallucinations. And oddly enough, this guy is like not a Christian at the time, at least not that I can tell. He had a vision of Jesus in the moment. I'm like, what? That's incredible. And so like, I'm just talking to him like, dude, tell me more about your story because I want to learn. I want to hear what you have to say. And like just kind of really connect on something that's really important.
Yeah, that's awesome. I personally, so I don't ever discount people's personal experience because that is something that is definitely you can have an experience with some form of deity if that's what you say it is, and that is nothing that I could actually in any way, shape, or form try to debunk or whatever. But however, with the fact that this was a hallucinogen is where I kind of draw the line on things because the very second you take hallucinogens,
everything's out the window.
Yes, because the chemical interactions that occur in your brain whenever you're on hallucinogens will cause you to see certain different things.
Yeah,
He personally, yeah. So
I mean,
so
I look
whenever
at hallucinations the same way. I mean, as obviously as a Christian, the standard belief is that drugs are not probably the best thing to do for your mind, let alone like your spiritual experience. And so like I hear that story, right, with a degree of skepticism, like, yeah, that's not a path I would ever recommend for anyone who's trying to connect with the deity. And yet, like, I still want to hear his story. Like, I still find value in what he's saying and what he's learning from the experience, right?
Yeah. And sorry, I got lost there. And that's what I like about you, is that you are open to those experiences. You know, I had an experience when I was a teenager on acid, and I spoke to Jesus Christ himself for about 25 hours.
Oh shit!
And it was a defining moment of my Christian life. I actually became more devout after that, until I became an atheist. But it also did lead me to questions that led me to disbelief. But the openness, and that's one of the things I was excited when you reached out to me to collaborate, and hopefully
we're doing it. We're doing it. I just got to find a window of time. I'm thinking sometime in the next month or two, I'll fly out that way and hang out with you for a day. Yeah,
and I'm looking forward to that. And I really want to talk about, coexisting. I think you'd be the perfect person for that, because I think the next bridge right now, there's like a kind of a war on YouTube between Christians and atheists, and I think that's a healthy discussion. But I also think that we need to start discussing what's after that, because eventually we're all going to have to get along and come to terms with each other. And I want to start exploring that. And I think you would be perfect for that kind of a conversation.
Dude, I would go down to have that conversation. That sounds like a really fun one to have.
Yeah. Like I was saying before you came on, the thing is one of the biggest misconceptions that a lot of Christians in general have about atheists is the fact that we're all just Christian hating people. And this is, like I said, one of the biggest misconceptions. Hell, my wife is a non-denominational Christian.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well,
and
I'll say this. If you listen to the Raging Atheist, he kind of supports that narrative most of the time. Not all the time, but most of the time.
I do need to do a better job of trying to separate who I'm actually talking about and stop painting with a broad brush. And I'm trying to get better at that, because my fight isn't against what I would call liberal Christians or people open to maybe new interpretations. My fight is against the biblical, the fundamental. If you're gay, you need to be killed, which is something that we've been dealing with Matt Powell and the new IFB.
So this dude, you've mentioned his name a bunch. I haven't watched any of the videos with you and him. This guy literally says, like, if you're gay, you should be killed.
Oh yeah.
Well, no.
What he says, the government should do what the Bible says they should do.
So he's fighting for a government in which the government kills gay people.
Yes, pretty much, solely based on the fact that he finds it biblical. So if in his perfect world, the United States would be in a theocracy.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But not just any theocracy. Yeah, not just any theocracy. His personal brand of theocracy, where homosexuals are punished by death by the government. And
no way, dude.
So maybe you've heard of what's his name, Brandon Anderson. I always say Brandon Anderson. Steven Anderson. He is the leader of this movement.
Oh no, I've never heard of this.
Well, have you ever heard of Bionic Dance?
No, I'm really ignorant in this area. Sorry, tell me about him.
Okay. Well, Bionic Dance is a woman. She's been on YouTube practically since YouTube's been a thing. And she is a lesbian. And there was a conversation that she was having with him where he brings up his views on the government killing homosexuals. And so she says to him, I want you to tell me to my face that you think I should be killed for being a lesbian. And he what he does is he does like Pontius Pilate and washes his hands of it by saying, well, it doesn't matter what I believe. It's just the fact that the Bible says it.
That's a cop-out, dude. I don't respect that at all.
Yeah, and so because this is his views on it, he finds himself to where his hands are clean of it all. And so she told him, she's like, I don't care what the Bible says. I want you to tell me what you personally believe. And he just would not, because it does not go with his script.
Dude, here's the way I look at it. Anytime in history where the government has or I would say this, anytime in history where religion has control of the government, it's ended poorly.
Oh yeah.
It's never been good. And so I'm like 100% in favor for a strict separation of church and state.
Oh, yeah, and you and I will get along just fine.
And that's what I say, that, you know, as Christians and atheists, we are going to have disagreements, but when we can have agreements, we need to really focus on those. And totally. You are what I would say the modern Christian, or you and the people you're involved with, because I've watched a lot of your videos, and you really are involved with Christians trying to do the right thing, and you don't spend your time like bashing the other side of the argument. And I do.
Well, but I want to say
I appreciate that. I really do.
I just want to say that all I do is expose bad arguments.
Yeah, I'm definitely a different kind of atheist. And I do attack,
and I will attack other atheists for having bad arguments as well. So I'm not one of those people who I just go after the people on the other side of the fence. I will police my own, because if someone is starting to use bad arguments, then the conversation is going nowhere. And you're just going to be throwing out these bad arguments, and it's not productive. So I've, as a matter of fact, there's one of my friends who is how me and Nakasuchi here got together, Surus, who he actually has a video of bad arguments from atheists. And he himself is an atheist, and he says, these are some of the bad arguments for that atheists use that they need to stop.
Yeah, see, I'm really in favor of that model where it's like you got to be able to critique your own, because that's where it's going to be the most effective, right? Because I could say a whole bunch of crap about you guys, you atheists, you whatever, like, and I can like say a bunch of stuff, and it's never going to be received by your community, or at least largely speaking. There might be a few people who are open to that dialogue, and similarly, like y'all might be able to attack some legitimate stuff within the church, but because you're an atheist, or at least a self-proclaimed atheist at that point, people aren't really, they're just going to be dismissive. And so like, I think we got to be really intentional about, like, for me, I want to criticize the church where it's appropriate, like where there's faulty logic or there's abuse of power. Like I really believe the church should lead the conversation about the insufficiencies of the church. And I respect what you're saying, dude. Like, you're willing to do that for your own camp. I think the more that we could do that, the better off things are going to be as a society at large. And where instead of we're posturing like, oh, I'm always right, everything's good. Why don't we just be open about, like, listen, there's some real stuff that's going on, and we can have a conversation around that, because that's the only way we get better as an individual, like, people group, or as a society at large.
I agree 100% with that. I do attack a lot, but I do feel like a lot of the people I attack deserve it.
Probably, I don't know.
But I do try, and I do want to start focusing more on coexisting, like I said, but not only that, on trying to have a healthier dialogue, not being as not being as toxic as I was when I was, yearning for subscribers, trying to get subscribers, trying to get noticed, and just really have a healthier conversation with people that I can. Now, when it's people like Matt Powell that are ingenuous, then I need to be me, but with you, I'm really looking forward to having a genuine conversation, just to kind of reaffirm my faith that that's possible again.
Wait, hold on. Say that again. You're wanting to do what?
Just to have a positive conversation.
No. You said reaffirm your faith. Do you mean like reaffirm your faith as in like double down on your atheism, or what?
Reaffirm my faith that it's possible to have a good conversation with a Christian again.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. I'm on the same page as you. I was like, wait, hold on. That seemed like counter narrative there.
I was about to say atheism it has nothing to do with faith.
Yeah. Gotcha.
So because Matt Powell did really hurt it, because he's, you know, if you ever were to study him, and I probably wouldn't recommend you actually looking at his videos because they're toxic, but he's so nice in person. So then when he misedits you and misrepresents you, and you knew it was going to happen, but you had this image of this young guy that's so nice, cool, you know, so it's going to be nice to actually have a conversation and not have to worry about that Christian vlogger going home and totally butchering everything I say.
Well, here's what I'll tell you, dude. When we hang out and we turn on the cameras, well, I mean, we're gonna hang out. We're not just gonna go there to turn on the cameras. Like,
yeah, I want to get to know you. You know?
Yeah, I promised you a cup of coffee. I promised you a meal, like on me. We're gonna do that, okay? But when the cameras go on and we start recording, bro, at the end of the day, you get the footage that I record too. So I'll transfer all that footage to you. So that way, if there's like, I mean, I promise you, I will not misrepresent you.
Oh, and
but if there ever was a way that it possibly could, you're going to have full access to all the files, so you can put everything in context.
Yeah, and that's something that Matt Powell didn't make happen. So, and I know that it's going to be a good conversation, and I've been plugging it on my channel, and just letting people know, hey, you know, we need to start. We need to find the people we can get along with and get along with them, you know,
for sure,
because that's what's going to be healthy for the dialogue going forward.
Cool, man. Well, I'm looking forward to it. Hey, I got to get running. I got some other things I got to work on. Thank you both for having me on this. I mean, this is totally unexpected, but
yeah, I appreciate that. Coming on, man. I really do. You're huge here on YouTube, so you are helping me right now.
Well, hey, man, whatever way I can help you, I'm happy to do it, dude.
All right. Thank you so much, man. And we will be talking very soon.
For sure. And Ian, pleasure to meet you too. Hopefully we can have some substantive conversations.
Okay. He's not Ian. Ian was one of Matt Powell's guys that was supposed to be here in Chicken.
Oh, okay. I just see the title. I didn't catch your name, dude.
Just call me Russ. Everyone does.
Russ, appreciate your conversation too. Hopefully we can connect too.
Oh yeah, hopefully so. We may cross paths again.
Cool. Looking forward to it.
Nice to see you, man.
You too. Hey, I'll send you an email. Tentatively, I'm looking at end of February or sometime in March, if that's possible. Okay.
Awesome. Yeah. Just let me know, dude.
All right, man. Peace. All the best.
All right, see you later, man.
Bye.
All right. Yeah, that was really, really cool. Didn't expect that to happen.
Yeah. He seems like a very decent guy that I could definitely. I wouldn't mind having a discussion with myself.
Yeah, he, like I said, I was real, you know, I did one of my normal routines on him. And it was right at the beginning of the Raging Atheist. So I'd probably say I was a lot worse than I am now. And, you know, and I'm bashing Girl Defined, and I started on Coffee and Bible Time, and I'm like, it's really sexist of me to just be doing women. So I found, you know, that Christian vlogger was a rising YouTube star. So when I'm looking for guys, he popped up, and I'm like, all right, I'm going to bash him no matter what. So I didn't even really go into his ideology. I got a male Christian. I'm going to bash this guy. Well, a week later, maybe not even a week later, he comments and is like, hey man, I want to talk, you know, let's have a conversation. And it's kind of become a friendship ever since. And that's what, you know, that's just an awesome thing when a very big YouTuber is going to make that time for, I mean, I was literally at maybe 100 subs, you know?
Yeah. I was, oh, the Geek Room's here. Hi, Frankie. But yeah, I was, definitely, it gets, whenever you are so small at a certain point in time, and you start hanging around some of the, bigger, more well-known names. You start having conversations with them. It does tend to it feels good. Like for instance, whenever I first started out, I had 7 subs. Before I started slowly blowing up, because I'm still not exactly blown up, but I had 7 subs, and I had a little niche of people that I talked to on Twitter a lot, and one of the guys who was actually in the chat earlier today, I don't know if he's still there, but because I haven't seen him speak in the chat in a while, was Secular, And I got to be really close friends with Secular. Secular's a great guy. And I was chit chatting with him, and I told him that I had 7 subs, and I was proud of my 7 subs. And he goes, "Wait, what? You only have 7 subs?" and here's Frankie, and now he has 8. Of course, Frankie. Of course, I only have 8 subs. Period. Um, but uh, but he's like, "Hold on a minute," and I was like, "Oh, okay." And next thing I know, I see that I got added on Twitter, and I looked at it, and it was Secular who said, "This is unacceptable. He only has 7 subs. People go sub to him." And I started slowly growing, and then as time went on, I just kept getting more and more, and started doing collabs with people, and started being on other people's channels, including the Non Sequitur show. I was on a couple of after shows, and was on debating with S.J. Thompson, and who's known as Christian Apologist, and a guy by the name of Master Apologist, where we were debating if atheism equates to communism. And it seemed that nobody had a fucking clue what the debate was about, because I went off of a single tweet that SJ said, where she pretty much said that atheism equated to communism. She had a different idea of mine, where it was like Marxist communism or something like that. And then Master Apologist had a completely different idea of mine of what he thought we were debating. And so it eventually got to slavery, and he kept throwing out these random books he's read that somebody said something, and how this person said this in this book. And he just didn't have any really coherent arguments. And then after that, he started really bashing on atheists on Twitter by saying things like, "Atheists are just moving out of mud huts," and things like that. Stupid little trying to trigger or trying to catch you type of comments. And I was like, "Oh my god, this dude is just a fucking moron altogether." And he kept saying how he was 400-0 on debating, and yet he wouldn't debate Shannon Q because she was a woman. He would not debate Cirrus one-on-one. He would not debate Ocean, and so he wouldn't debate these people. And eventually he got off Twitter altogether. And then he comes back, and he starts making other plans, and then leaves again. And he just was running from people.
I think I have heard of this. Now that you got into the story, I think I had heard of that. That's funny. And it's not surprising though. Any of those people, from what I've seen of Shannon Q, what I've seen of Series, and especially Ocean, I mean, they probably crush them.
Yeah. Gertrude, what is rude about atheism? And how is it inappropriate? That's just not, that's a complete non sequitur.
Yeah, I don't understand how it's rude. Now, I can be rude, but I don't think I've been rude today. And as far as being ashamed of myself, I'm not a Christian. I don't feel shame very often, I guess. I don't have people telling me I should feel ashamed.
Yeah, and then I don't know exactly how to feel about Michael yet. All he said was, "I'm black." That was the very first thing he says in the chat. And so I said, "Hi, Black, I'm Russ." And then he's like, "We're all pink on the inside," which is true.
I'm wondering if maybe this guy isn't from the ISUPK. Maybe
I don't know what that is. But
yeah, I'm not sure. If you're here for the conversation, we're going to be wrapping up soon because I'm going to have to go get my daughter. But if you're not, I apologize. But if you're part of the ISUPK,
I have no idea what that is.
I just did a video on them. They're they're a racist group of people that think that the American slaves and Native Americans were the original Jews. All right, good. He's not.
He says,
Awesome.
yeah.
Awesome, sweet.
Yeah. I think he's just doing it.
I've gotten 118 death threats from him.
Yeah, I think he was just saying it to be funny. And because whenever he came out with "We're all pink on the inside," it made me think that he was just saying "I'm black" just to be funny.
Yeah, I did see that. I'm seeing that now. That would give it away that he's not ISUPK.
Yeah, yeah, because I'm pretty sure that if he was, he definitely would not try to equate everyone together, which is.
And I totally agree with the sentiment. We're all pink on the inside. We're all one.
Yes. We're all humans, just trying to make it in this world.
Yeah.
Let's see here. That isn't being a very good parent if you're raising her outside the church. Well, the thing is it really. Why would that not be a good parent? I mean, if you actually look at the statistics, most abuse that goes on in families tends to be the religious families. You have a high cases of sexual abuse going on in a lot of different churches and a lot of different things like that. You have physical abuse that tends to come from church. Yeah. And you have a lot of different hell, just the fact that you are telling your child that even a single thought is warrants you to eternal damnation is a very harmful thing to say to a child.
I would have to argue that instilling fear of hell, fear of burning forever, fear of demons, fear of monsters into a child, that would be child abuse. Now, as for me, my daughter believes in God. She doesn't go to church, thankfully, anymore. But for you to imply that I'm not raising her right because I'm not raising her in church, I would say I'm raising her exactly right because I don't have to worry about her being abused by anybody because I've got my eyes on her at all times.
Yeah, and the thing is it's not necessary. It's not necessary to raise a child in church because, as I said, it's not. I don't see how it is. That again is a complete non sequitur. It does not rationally follow.
Yeah, it makes no sense. I mean, you can have that opinion, and I really am going to have to get off here soon because I do got to go pick her up. But yeah, for you to come in here and say that is, you're just trolling. Supply some evidence because all the evidence would say you taking your children to church is actually putting them in danger.
Yeah, it's definitely. I mean, and if you belong to a church that doesn't participate in a lot of the abuse, then that's fine and dandy. But that doesn't necessitate that others should have to take their children to church for any reason. Church is not a necessary part of life.
Yeah, but I do have to wrap this up. I appreciate you talking with me, Frustrated Atheist. Like I said, I got a link to his channel below, and if you want to mirror the part where that Christian blogger came in and put it on your channel, or mirror this whole, you do what you want with our conversation. I'm probably going to be doing that myself to get that part up and kind of plug our conversation coming up. So, but I want to thank you for stopping by and having a great conversation. We'll definitely do this again. Yeah, I wish I didn't have to. I could do this all day. I wish I didn't have to go get her.
Right.
So, we will. Yeah, so I'm gonna have to get off here. If you want to say anything in parting, feel free.
Don't just automatically assume that you know someone, regardless of what side of the fence you are and what side of the fence they are on. Don't automatically assume that you know them. Actually get to know them.
Yeah, I agree. And even, I will give you that, you can look at my channel and get a negative opinion of me, but that's my channel. You don't know what's going on in my life. You don't know what kind of a dad I am. And I would tell you, this would be gloating, but anybody that you would ask in my personal life would tell you that I am one hell of a father. So for you to imply that I'm not because I don't go to church just shows your ignorance. But I do have to get out of here. It is 3 o'clock and I got to be there at 3:25. So I appreciate it, man. And we will talk very soon.
Oh, yeah.
So, see me in the background doing that.
We can hear you now too.
Yeah.
That's my roommate. So that's my daughter's mom. And so, but yeah, we will see you guys later. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and stop it now.